Not tragic, sad news. Bob Knight passed away. I actually dug out my coaching sweater at Indiana that I wore for about 12 years. We're going to discuss Coach Knight as we come back. Hey, don't at me, starts right now. Hey, good morning. The news broke yesterday that at 83 years old, Bob Knight, my kind of guy, died. And that was sad. It is sad. It's really, really, really sad. But I'm going to talk about when you watch the legacies of Bob Knight, when you watch the bouquets, the tributes of Bob Knight, maybe Indiana fans will get a little bit of insight into why I'm always on Indiana and Indiana players' backside. First, Bob Knight, I broke out my sweater that I wore for 12 years as an assistant coach. I don't know if I wore it all 12 years, and I certainly know it doesn't fit, but you know what? I figured today is the day. Bob Knight was one of a kind, and here's what Bob Knight was at Indiana. Bob Knight made it like the mafia, our thing, La Cosa Nostra. This was not for everybody. Players left, coaches left, people got mad. But you know who didn't get mad? The people that stayed. You know who didn't get mad? The people, parents of the players that stayed. Why, you ask? I mean, this man coached you hard. Hey, let me tell you something. My first game as a freshman, we're playing Miami of Ohio. We win by 20. Hey, I played 1 minute. I scored 5 points. I mean, this is great. I come in the locker room, and Randy Whitman's like, no. Long story short, Knight threw all of our stuff from our locker into a pile, and, ladies and gentlemen, he made us go dress in the in the football locker room. And I'm sitting there as a freshman going, what the hell is this? Well, let me explain something to you. There was a certain level. There was a certain level that you had to play at. There was a certain level you had to go and do your academics at. There was a certain level that you had to conduct your business. We were not angels in Indiana, but we were not there to cause trouble. And we sure as hell did not want Bob Knight in front of us saying, why'd you get a DUI? Why'd you go to Taco Bell and act like an idiot? Because the question would not have been why. It was you did this, and here is a punishment if not kicked off the team. And we all knew it. Now, all of these little writer boys and girls are now throwing bouquets at Bob Knight, but they have no idea. I hear how he's so complicated. He was not complicated. He was not complicated at all. In fact, he was very simple. He had a distrust of the media, except he was friends with a couple. Fine, that's not complicated. What Bob Knight wanted was this. Bob Knight wanted you to be a great player. Bob Knight wanted you to be a great student. And Bob Knight wanted you to learn how to act as a young adult moving into manhood. That ain't complicated. It was not about business. It was not about anything other than his team. When you ever heard Bob Knight speak, he says, we and us. Listen to Mike Woodson. Listen to Krzyzewski. Listen to all these guys last night. Me, I couldn't have been. We, blah, 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 blah. No. That is not how Bob Knight conducted his business. We and us. It was always we and us. If you go back and you really listen over the course of time, and this is one of the big things that I took out of it. When I talk about our group here with Outkick, I talk about us and I talk about we. When I talked about Bowling Green, I talked about us and I talked about we. I, me, I. It's why I had such a problem with Jeff Saturday when he became the coach of the Colts, because I, me, I. See, one of the things that's a lesson here for Indiana basketball now is if the coaching staff and if the players are smart, and I really don't believe that they are, but if they are, they will read all of these tributes from former players, guys like Vitale, whoever, and understand that under Bob Knight, Indiana basketball was different. Under Bob Knight, Indiana basketball was special. It had a niche. It was revered for its toughness, for its drive, for its dedication, not for Miller Kopp putting on a headband and going and playing in the NCAA tournament because he wanted to protect his brand, not for a bunch of guys that I coach smoking weed every freaking night after practice, not for little Trey Galloway doing a TikTok video after they beat Wyoming. That's everybody else. This is why I am so critical of Indiana basketball, both the coaches and the administration. All you got to do is watch. All you got to do is read, and you will see how special we were. La Cosa Nostra, our thing. Little punk like Greg Doyle doesn't like it? Great. Bob Kravitz doesn't like it? Great. Bill Benner, all these little writers don't like it? Great. That's your thing. Our thing was we went, we were honored to be recruited by him. We were honored to be coached by him hard. We all wanted to be coached. Now think about in today's game. Think about how today works. You don't like it, what do? You leave, period. That's it, I'm gone. Hey, a lot of guys did that back then. That's nothing new. That Bo Schembechler saying, I think it was Bo, those who stay will be champions, couldn't be more right. I think every guy up until like 94 that played for Bob Knight won a Big Ten title. Until Mike Woodson's class that came in 1977, Woodson's class and my class of basically me and Uwe were the only two classes for a long time that didn't play in a Final Four. Bob Knight, though, that's not what made it. Bob Knight made Indiana special because we had a niche. We had a niche. You knew when you were going to play Indiana, we were going to be tough. Were we always going to win? Hell no. I turned the ball over minute 18 against Virginia. We didn't win. Elite Eight. I did come back and hit a jump shot late under a minute to go. Why? Because I wasn't going to sulk. Because I understood mistakes happen, and I was taught that by Coach Knight. Get your head up and let's get going. Indiana was special. Indiana was really special. Indiana's niche was such that you were going to face a motion offense. What did that mean? That didn't necessarily mean screening and cutting. You know what it meant? It meant unselfishness. That's what you learn when you go to play for Bob Knight. People criticize me all the time, and they say, well, you only averaged 4 points a game at Indiana. Yeah, well, I was a guy that couldn't touch the rim. I was the slowest player, still am, in the history of Indiana. The least vertical jump. But you know what I got to do? I got to captain, start, and star on an Elite Eight team in the tournament. I got to be one of only two-time captains at Indiana, along with Quinn Buckner. Could I have done that anywhere else? Probably not. Why was I able to do it in Indiana? And this goes into Bob Knight's coaching, because he was fair. Bob Knight was fair. I mean to tell you, really, really fair. You knew if you showed up at practice and you were on the white team, which was the second team, and you busted it, and you busted it, and you busted it, eventually you were going to get a shot in the game. My shot came against Kentucky. Last guy to get in the game. At Rupp, we're getting pounded. I mean, they got Turpin and Bowie and Minifield and Horde and Hurt. We're getting pounded. I think Knight put the mascot, and we don't even have a mascot in the game before me. Last guy to go in, me. About 8-10 minutes to go in the game. I've never dribbled the ball up the court as a guard in my life until Rupp Arena facing the quickest guard in college basketball, Dirk Minifield. Long story short, not really very good. I just started passing to Whitman, passing to Kitzel. They hit jump shots. We turned a 20-point lead deficit into an 8-point deficit. We lose the game, but I think I started the next 8 games or so. Went from the last guy on the bench to starting. That's what Bob Knight did. So many coaches in this day and age get 8 players. That's it. These are our guys. Not Bob Knight. He made the walk-on. He made the senior captain feel the same. Give it to me, and I will reward you. And I thought that was awesome. There were times, true story, when I would sit in my little red chair and Knight would talk, and I'd be like, damn, that's my dad. That's the same kind of expression that my dad had. And it would fascinate me. I'd go, wait a second. Holy cow. And then I went, okay, no. It's not. Was he tough? Hell yeah, he was tough. Was he brutal? Hell yeah, was he brutal. Did he stop coaching at the end? Absolutely, at Indiana. I couldn't get him to go and recruit anybody. I couldn't get him to spend half of a day on the best senior big man in the country named Rafe LaFrance, who ended up going to being an All-American at Kansas. I've told the story many times. He wouldn't stay. The family's on campus. We met him at 4 a.m. for crying out loud. But I got great Bob Knight stories. It's the same thing I told my players. I go, look, you're going to play for a crazy man. You're going to play for somebody that isn't going to be out in public, isn't going to be at the bars, isn't going to be doing anything other than watching tape and trying to make you better and yelling and screaming and kissing and hugging and cajoling every day. I told my players at Bowling Green that, and I learned that from Bob Knight. I loved my high school coach, but I didn't have a high school coach that was, well, let's just say, driven to prepare. People always ask me, what's the thing you learned most out of Bob Knight? I learned how to prepare. You do a show like this, you got to prepare. Drives my wife nuts. I'm always on Twitter. I'm always on different websites. I'm always reading Outkick. I'm always doing that. Well, I learned that from Bob Knight. I don't care the job. You prepared. High school, I really didn't have that. And all of a sudden, I go to Indiana, and we're having a walkthrough. What's a walkthrough? All of a sudden, I go to Indiana, and I'm playing on the scout team. What's a scout team? Never heard of a scout team. Didn't know what it was. Then as I got going and I started to understand things, wow, we were better prepared than anybody. We would jump on top of a screen and the other team. I remember one time telling a kid at Illinois, you're supposed to go over here. They played out of a box set. He was supposed to pop out. He went the wrong way. I told him, I go, you're supposed to pop out there. And he looked at me. I go, hey, come on, we scout. Bob Knight is the greatest basketball coach college basketball has ever seen. Krzyzewski got involved with agents, money managers, players moving into Durham. There was a big article down in Louisiana about why are so many players moving from Alaska, Boozer, and Langdon and living in this community. He got involved in one and dones and shoe companies and all that kind of crap. Look at all of your Hall of Fame coaches. They all got busted at some point in their career. Modern Hall of Fame coaches. They all got busted at some point in their career for cheating. Every single one of them. Every one. Every one. Whether it was Roy Williams giving something after guys graduate, which really isn't an offense. Whether it was Calipari, whether it was Huggins, you name it, every single one of the modern coaches busted for cheating. Bob Knight fired me. There was a time when you could only make one phone call per week to a recruit. They wanted to lighten the load on recruits. Bob Knight, unbeknownst to me, I was in Canada recruiting. I called a kid. Kid says, hey, Coach Felling called me earlier this week. I went, oh, crap. I turned myself in. I hadn't communicated with Felling, our other assistant. That's 2 calls in 1 week. That's an NCAA violation, very minor violation. I mean, nothing was ever going to happen. But I knew what was going to happen. I called our compliance lady. She obviously got a hold of Coach Knight. My ass was off the road, flying back to Bloomington and facing the music. I'm on a plane, and it was one of the first times I ever bought a whiskey on a plane. I'm like, hey, can I have 2 of those? Because I knew I was going to be fired for making one phone call. You think he was going to involve himself in shoe companies recruiting for us? You think he was going to involve himself in money managers? No, absolutely not. Now, man was brilliant. Man could have set up the greatest cheating schemes ever. We used to talk about it, but that wasn't his thing. Never cheated. Didn't tolerate cheating. One time, I think I've told this story on here, he called me in the summer of 1984. He said, hey, Dakich, are you going to class? I said, Coach, I go on Monday, my roommate goes Tuesday, quarterback on the football team goes Wednesday, and a friend of his goes Thursday. So we meet on Thursday night. I didn't tell him we had pizza and beer, but I'm getting a B+. He said, that's great. I would have done that in college, but I paid you $1,500. Indiana players are supposed to go to class. You got 3 options. 1, you can have $1,500 on my desk on Monday. 2, you can transfer, and I don't want you to transfer, but you can. And 3, I got a job for you over at the golf course. You can work the $1,500 off. Damn. You were going to go to class. You were going to act like a human being, and you were going to bust it. And if the media didn't like it, La Cosa Nostra, baby. La Cosa Nostra. Our thing. Our thing. Which is what La Cosa Nostra means. Man, I just wish that maybe, just maybe now, Indiana fans, and maybe, just maybe now, Indiana players will realize that Indiana's a special place. Indiana has a special niche in college basketball. Indiana isn't the place for little TikTok videos. Oh my God, look at Trey Galloway. He's a vibe. Oh my God. Look at him TikToking after they beat Wyoming. Huh? And I get ripped for it by all the little blogger boys around. Now, TikTok, no. It's not who we are. Or Cooper Cup or Miller Cup. I got to wear a headband because we're on national TV and I want my brand to go good. Huh? Huh? Are you kidding me? Are you nuts? Every time something like that happens, I'm the mouthpiece. I'm the guy that says this is horse bleep. I'm the guy that says what a bunch of shit. And you know where I got it from? I get it from former players texting me. Maybe, just maybe, you guys will understand. You guys being media around here, you guys being fans, what us former players have always believed Indiana to be. And that's a special place with tough dudes. Not little TikTok guys, not little headband wearing guys. No, tough dudes that have a special place in the history of college basketball, and it's all because of Bob Knight. Now, I don't know what Indiana and Bob Knight ultimately got into. I wasn't there, and he really wasn't confiding in me. But I got to tell you, I was glad to see him come back. I didn't want to be there. I didn't. My relationship with him ended. It ended because, quite frankly, the stuff he did backstabbing me at ESPN was inexcusable to me. It didn't matter to me to go see him and make amends. I felt like he should go see me and make amends. But I did ask Dr. Rink one time, who is my doctor and Coach Knight's close friend, I did ask him, I said, hey, if I went to see Coach Knight, would he be a jackass to me? Because I don't really need that. He said, Dan, he wouldn't know who you are. I said, okay. All right. Well, that's the way our relationship was going to end. It feels like 3 lifetimes ago I was with Bob Knight. It feels like that was a different person. It feels like that lifetime was just a special place in somebody else's memory. But damn, do I have great memories of it. Damn, did I enjoy it. I loved playing for Bob Knight. I loved coaching for Bob Knight, but this show is real. I did not like coaching for him the last 2 years that I worked for him. I would have taken any job. If foreman at the steel mill came open, I was getting the hell out of there because I didn't think he worked very hard. And all he did was fire me and Felling and every coach and blame every loss on us, and I kind of had enough. I had to punch him one time. He got me. I screwed up something. End of the game against DePaul. I was in this little locker room right off of the locker room at Assembly Hall. And I was in there. He calls me in there. And he stands up. Well, no, I'm sorry. I got this wrong. In practice, he had, and I have the video of it, he gives me a shot. Bam. In front of the team. I'm like, all right, you're the Gazda. He's in this little room right next to Assembly Hall, or right next to the locker room. There's a little room where we used to go at halftime. He's in there, so I go in there and I go, hey, coach, I got to tell you, I love you, but don't ever do that again. I mean, I'm not going to hit you in front of the team, but don't ever do that again. He stood up, he came at me, and I drilled him right here in the chest. And I knocked him back into the sofa. Never hit me again. When he got fired, Clarence Doniger called me. Because somebody, I don't know how, but somebody asked at Knight's press conference, it might have been when he didn't get fired. It might have been when they saved him. Remember, there were 2 times. They saved him in May and then fired him in September. I'm watching the press conference, and all of a sudden, hey, somebody asked, is there tape of a fight between Dan Dakich and Bob Knight? And I'm like, oh, crap, right? Oh, crap. And I started thinking, well, yeah, probably a manager, I don't know if you can show him smacking me. So I got the tape and I saw it. I'm like, oh, crap, that ain't good. I had the tape, actually. But I was thinking, did they tape the room? Did they have a video recorder in that little room we were in? And, of course, Clarence Doninger calls me, the AD. Hey, Dan, you got a tape of you and Coach Knight fighting? Of course I did. I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Nah, hell no. Isn't this wild? But it was our thing. Isn't it crazy? But it was our thing. Our thing. And you know what? I'm so glad I had the opportunity. My recruiting story to Indiana went like this. 1980, Indiana's assistant comes to see me play against Lowell. I don't know he's there, Jimmy Cruz. I score 49. He leaves at halftime. I got 30. They invite my dad, my brother, and I, and Bob Hamill's brother, Jim, to the game against Ohio State, Big Ten championship game. We don't know nothing about recruiting. We're sitting there watching the game. Woodson's great. Carter's great. I didn't know Indiana basketball. So guess what? We're leaving. Game's over. Speeches are made. We leave. Jimmy Cruz comes out. He catches us. He goes, where are you going? I go, I don't know. We don't know nothing about recruiting. I knew nothing about recruiting. No, come in the locker room, which was a thrill. Long story short, after everybody clears out, Knight tells my dad, myself, and my brother to stay around. Hey, hang around. All right, we do. I'm standing there, and I'm looking at this goals board that everybody that ever played at Indiana knows that we had. 65 points a game. No opponent scores 20. 44% shooting, or 48, whatever it was. I'm looking at this board, and all of a sudden, somebody hits me in the side of the head. I mean, a nice shot, and I turn around. And I got my fist clenched like, what the? And it's Coach Knight. Hey, Danny, you going to play here? I looked at my dad. I'm a pimply-faced, 150, 180-pound, 6'5" kid. I go, Coach, you offer me a scholarship? I didn't know. He goes, yeah, I'm offering you a scholarship. You go and play here. I said, yeah. But here's the other side of it. Knight lied like hell in my recruiting. And I told him when I recruited for him, we're not lying to these kids like you lied to me. He told me we wouldn't bring in anybody 6'4", 6'5", or 6'6". My year or the year after. Well, who'd they bring in my year? Winston Morgan, 6'4". Me, 6'5". Rick Roray, 6'6". Year after, Tracy Foster, 6'5". Lied like hell to me. And I remember telling him when I started recruiting, Coach, I'm not lying for you. You guys lied to me. What are you talking about? I said, Coach, here's the deal. You guys lied to me. I am not lying to any recruit. I'm not. Complicated deal, right? I guess. But he was not complicated. Be great in basketball. Be a great student. Act like a human being on campus. Last thing, and I said this last night. I said this last night because I mean this. One of the great things about being an Indiana basketball player during that time is that you were always respected on campus. Yeah, some people didn't like you. I had to knock out a kid from Hammond because he was being a jackass and he flipped off my very cool fedora that I wore. Think Bear Bryant, but a college kid. He flipped it off at a party at my girlfriend Mo Mama's house, so I drilled him, knocked him down, got in the car after I realized the fight was over, and you know what? Thought, oh man, Coach Knight going to kick me off the team. We weren't angels, but we weren't going to the Taco Bell and acting like an idiot either, because there was fear in our hearts that we had to be Bob Knight. Media. Yesterday, the biggest jackass in media here, Greg Doyle, and a couple others, including a guy at Outkick that I went bat blank crazy, on the day that Knight died, started writing crap. I didn't read the article that Doyle wrote because I won't read that idiot, but the headline was such how bad a guy Knight is. Basically talking about arrests. See, you want to know why Knight hated the media? Because they're idiots. A guy like Doyle is a dirtbag. Always has been, always will be. And he showed it yesterday, once again showing his ass on a day a man died. Same thing happened here at Outkick. Same exact thing happened here at Outkick. And I went bat blank crazy. Look, I understand that Knight had that part of him, but not on the damn day that he died. That doesn't need to be discussed, certainly not discussed in a headline, but that's the reason Knight knew these guys were frauds, phonies, and rotten human beings. And that's why he didn't get along with them. Now, he got along with some. He cultivated some because he knew them. Dave Kindred, legendary writer, Frank DeFord, Bob Hamill, all these guys. He was smart enough to do that. Hell, everybody's smart enough to do that. But if you want to know why Knight had a distrust and a disdain of the media, go check out Greg Doyle's headline in the Indy Star. Now, he tried to hide it by bringing other things. He tried to squash it, but it's one of the most jackassery things. In fact, even here at Outkick, we did the same thing. And I text my bosses, and I've never done this before, but I drop F-bombs on them like this is effing on the day a dude died. But hey, he didn't like the media. So what? Let me ask you a question. You ever go to a Pacer game and look at the media? You ever go to a Bulls game and look at the media? They don't like themselves. We had some basketball writer here that used to wear a hat so everyone could notice her. Check out Doyle or Kravitz or any of these slobs at games. Check out Chappell or any of these slobs. They don't respect themselves, so why should a guy like Bob Knight, who demands excellence, respect them? Shouldn't. No need to. It was our thing. It was our thing. La Cosa Nostra, our thing. And as you watch all the tributes come in, remember, many of the people that are giving tributes to him are completely full of crap. Pay attention to the former players. Pay attention to the guys that play. And the ones that are smart enough to not say I, me, I in their tributes they understand what Bob Knight was about. Bob Knight was for his players. Bob Knight was for his program. Bob Knight was for the fans. Bob Knight was for the school. And that was it. And it made others bat shit crazy. You know what? La Cosa Nostra. Our thing. Last thing. People ask me, why was he the best basketball coach ever, in my opinion? Well, that's simple. Truthfully, I learned this stat a long time ago. You know, Bob Knight had more national championships than Dean Smith. You know that Bob Knight had one NBA All-Star on his team, Isaiah Thomas, one. In 28 years, he had one. That's it. I kind of am sort of thinking that Izzo's the same way. I'm kind of sort of thinking that Izzo, maybe Draymond Green, I guess, played in the All-Star game, but I'm not sure that anybody else played in an All-Star game for Tom Izzo. He had one. All you got to do is go look in the rafters at North Carolina. All you got to do is go, yeah, oh, God dang, all-time great, blah, 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 blah. Knight won more national champions. That's one reason. The other reason is he innovated the game. He absolutely innovated the game. The motion offense changed an entire state. In fact, I always told him, I go, look, coach, Katie's running our motion offense better than us. We got to pay attention. We got to, come on. We got to get some stuff going. And they did. And Gene Katie at Purdue was smart. He took what we did even before he got there. This entire state was absolutely, totally, completely influenced by what we did at Indiana. When Bob Knight started wearing a sweater, high school coaches all across the state did what? They wore a sweater. High school coaches wanted to run motion offense. Some could, some couldn't. When I ran it at Bowling Green, Jim O'Brien sent his staff. He was at Ohio State. Tommy Amaker came over. They wanted to study it. O'Brien at Ohio State calls me, goes, this is crazy. I don't like it. The ball's flying all over the place. I can't stand it. I'm going back to sets. Amaker said the same thing, and I got it. But Knight had a way we were going to play, and we knew how we were going to play. You didn't have to do much scouting against us because we were going to run a motion offense. And yet, Knight still beat everybody's ass, and he did it without cheating. Was he controversial? Yes. I'll end it with this. I'm going way too long. Knight was hilarious. Knight was hilarious. When you hung out with him and he wasn't in one of his little pissy moods, absolutely hilarious. I mean, funny as hell. Roll on the ground funny. A guy's guy. Make fun of you funny. Every day almost that he wasn't in a pissy mood. Now, Knight was also competitive, but very insecure about playing golf. Couldn't hit the ball past his nose. I used to hit a 5-wood. We'd play almost every other morning. We would go to the IU golf course. He had keys to the cart, and so he would get a cart, and we would go. And we would play in like 2 hours. And it would drive him nuts because back then I could hit the ball a long way, and I used to hit a 5-wood a mile. So I'd hit a 5-wood, he'd be like 30 yards behind me, and he'd be pissed. What'd you hit there? And I always would say the same thing. I missed a 5-wood, hit on the toe. And I would do that, and I always made sure I walked away so I didn't give him a chance to call me a dumb MFer. I went hunting with him one time. And I never wanted to go hunting again. I think hunting's stupid. I don't want to shoot a gun. Long story short, halfway through we're going to lunch. I never wanted to hunt. So I put the gun on my right shoulder. He was on my left. And I pulled the trigger. Boom! He kicked me off the hunt, told me to get in the truck and go back to Assembly Hall. And then he would give speeches on how stupid I am. And I would laugh, and the other coaches knew it. I'd be like, yeah, well, I never have to go hunting again. No, man, excuse me. Bob Knight passing away isn't a tragedy. Bob Knight passing away is sad. And last thing I will say, Bob Knight lived life. And I'll also say this, I don't know how you get dementia, and I don't know the official title of what Bob Knight had, but I will tell you, Bob Knight read more than any human being I've ever been around. And I mean, he read the thick books. He didn't read Seuss. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't read Go Sheepy Go. He was reading the thick books, the big books, history, biographies. He exercised his mind like nobody I've ever known. Now, I never really saw the guy exercise. And it was just sad to me, even though we did not get along, very sad to me, that Bob Knight and his great mind got dementia. That Bob Knight, and the smartest person I've ever been at seeing something and giving you a perspective that you never really thought of, that mind went away. It's that, my friends, is a tragedy. That is the real tragedy of Bob Knight in his later years. That mind, that beautiful mind, that brilliant mind, that common sense mind, I wished, even though, as I said, I didn't get along with him, even though, as I said, I didn't really respect him at the end. Not about coaching, not about playing, but about business. Didn't respect him. I always thought, what an absolute tragedy that that mind isn't going to be used to help others because of dementia. That's the tragedy. Because nobody in my life, and I've been around some really smart people. My father, my brother, brilliant. And they remind me of Coach Knight, and they're the closest I know to saying, here's a situation, here's how you solve it, or here's how you look at it. And it's a damn tragedy that Bob Knight's mind did not get used at the end of his life to mentor, to help, to instruct others. Fucking dementia. Horrible. I can only imagine. Again, I didn't live inside his body, but I can only imagine how frustrating that had to be for a man. Last thing. I hate the pictures that I see of Bob Knight coming back to Assembly Hall a couple years ago. Not the pictures where he's giving it, not that. But I hate the pictures of a man suffering from dementia looking scared on the court, looking scared at his home, having those eyes that tell you, man, I hate those. I can't stand those pictures because that's not who Bob Knight was. When Bob Knight walked out, we would practice, shoot, individual work before practice, and he would come out, back right corner of Assembly Hall onto the court. Everybody straightened up. Big guy here, big guy. I tell Alfred, big guy, big guy. And next thing you know, boom, we're going 100 miles an hour, right? Never scared on the court. Never, never, never unprepared on the court. Never frightened. Never, ever frightened in the locker room. And I hate those pictures. I hate them like it's my job. Because those damn pictures show a man that was scared. Those damn pictures don't reflect Bob Knight on the court at Assembly Hall, not even a little bit. The picture with Isaiah is great. The picture of them like this is great. Great. Not good, great in my life. Great. Awesome. Tremendous. But God, I hate those pictures where I see him scared. You know the pictures that I'm talking about. God, I hated those. Son of a bitch, I hated those. All right. One time I did an imitation of Coach Knight. I was a senior in college. We had just won a couple games. We had a bad year. But I don't know why. We were laughing in the locker room like guys do. And I started going off. And around the corner came Knight. And everybody went, and Alfred's like, and I had a choice, right? I had a choice. I knew he was there. I could, stop, be intimidated, or I kept going. And behind me, he didn't say nothing, but I kept going. And I ended it with, and that's fucking right, Dakich, you dumb son of a... And I sat down in my chair and I looked at him, and he was rolling. I mean, rolling. Quinn Buckner tells a story how he used to take the practice plan, sneak the practice plan out of his back pocket. Imagine that. He wanted to see, because we all hated a thing called, zigzag. Zigzag was a one-on-one defensive drill, and we hated it. And sometimes Knight would start the drill, and then he'd go over and talk to somebody. He'd be doing this effing drill forever, and it was horrible. So Buckner wanted to know what was coming. I never had the cojones to do that. I think Alfred did. Anyway, I'm sad. Rest in peace, Coach Knight. Rest in peace. Best basketball coach to ever walk the sideline. Did not need agents, did not need boosters, did not need money managers. I'm going to drink a beer to you tonight, Coach Knight. I am. One time Knight said to me, hey, Dakich, you drink beer? I said, Coach, I'm not going to lie to you. I go, not often, but yeah, once in a while. He goes, you thought I was going to rip you, didn't you? I said, yeah, I did. He goes, I can't tell you that drinking beer is any worse than drinking a Coke. But if you get arrested for drinking beer, you're off the team. And he walked away. And I yelled at him, fair enough. He turned around and he flipped me off. We were men. We weren't little pussies. We weren't wearing a headband because our brand is on TV. We weren't making a TikTok video because we beat Wyoming in the first 4. Hell, we beat North Carolina and Michael Jordan. We were in the film room 10 minutes later. I hope Indiana basketball players understand why us former players are disgusted by what they've done, what they've made Indiana basketball to be. Stop it. La Cosa Nostra, Indiana basketball, our thing. We'll be right back.
Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am Clay Travis, your fearless leader. I am going to continue to argue that sports is one of the great unifying forces in all of American life. ESPN is a sinking ship. Democrats are now the party of the white, woke college graduate.
We live in a land of participation trophies.
You gotta lean into the turns. You really gotta lean into the turns.
Very difficult to go back-to-back years in the NFL with the number 1 overall pick.
Is it fair for people to be upset with Barbie?
I've been out of LA long enough to have forgotten that libs, no matter how ridiculous the scenario, are gonna live. What have you seen firsthand of how this has affected you in the plant and your fellow employees? Under Joe Biden, the Taliban has retaken Afghanistan. Putin has invaded Ukraine. So if there was ever a time for freaking aliens to inhabit and conquer Earth, now would be that time.
You're born a male, play with males. You're born a female, play with females. Don't at me about it. The American people are being cheated. We, ladies and gentlemen, are being cheated.
I made the call to end the Me Too movement, and today I'm going to continue making that case. And that's just a way to further taunt these women, to make them feel less than, to make them realize that this has just become a big joke.
And we were able to see you guys on the ground with your signs supporting. That was huge.
They were saying, oh, it's only 1 or 2. That's rubbish, and we all know that's rubbish. Once those trans-identifying males were able to succeed, it just encouraged.
I'll say it right now. One of the tragedies of COVID is I was just talking to Eddie George, and it knocked his restaurant out. I used to go, Urban and I, after I did games on Tuesday or Saturdays, basketball games, Urban and I would meet up in the back room there. I used to take my son Andrew to his other spot. That's some sad news. Heisman Trophy winner, all-around good dude. The great Eddie George joins us. Let's get right into it. Michigan is all the rage right now, man. Stealing signs. They got cyber crimes that they had to fire an assistant coach. How big a deal is this in your mind?
I think the part where I did see the kid, one of the assistant coaches dressed up as another coach. I think that's a major problem. I think if that holds true, then there needs to be some repercussions for that. But at the end of the day, I understand you're trying to get a competitive edge. You're trying to get up something that you can find on Saturdays that you can figure out how to put your team in the best possible position to win. And from Michigan's perspective, they're going to push the envelope. And I think they're going to do what they have to do to try to get a victory some way, somehow. But, you can get the signs. You can try to steal signs, but you still have to execute. I mean, I'm not one to say you can still know where the team's going to run. You still have to stop it. And that's kind of how I've always been. I mean, I'll tell a team. I've been on teams where we told the defense we're going to run right here, and then we impose our will on that team. So you still got to get it done. But I think now with the as you uncover this whole ordeal, with the coach being on the sideline and posing as another assistant coach for another team, I think that's an issue.
Hey, look, I coached for 30 years. To quote a good friend of mine, I ain't never heard no shit like that, if you want to know the truth.
You never tried to get the competitive edge to find signs what a team was doing. You can try that, coach?
No, hell no. God, no. Hey, look, I do agree. Let me go back to this. I do agree you got to stop it. But over the course of a game, if I know what you're doing, look, if it wasn't a big deal, they wouldn't be doing it. Let's put it that way. You agree with that?
Right. I definitely agree with it. I mean, they're trying to get a competitive edge. And, I think my relationship with that team up north, that they were probably doing it way back when we were playing them too. So who knows?
Yeah, it's like speeding, right? You never get caught the first time you speed. Well, I mean, what the hell? It's like been doing it a while. Hey, Eddie,
you're not cheating, you're not trying. That's the old adage, right?
That's right. No, that's exactly right. Hey, Eddie, Will Levis looked pretty good coming out first game. What are your thoughts?
Will, he looked great. I had a chance to go by the game for the homecoming deal with the Oilers. Some of the Oilers players were there. Warren Moon, some of the greats from the past history from Titans and Oilers organization was there. And I had a chance to watch some of his highlights on film. And, man, he was impressive. I mean, he hit every throw that he could possibly think of. He could hit with the deep out. He hit the a 9 route. Was really cool under pressure when they tried to blitz him. And I think he's going to be the future moving forward. You know, Mike Vrabel has got a real gem in this kid for him to come out and throw for 4 touchdowns in his first pro game. Now, things are going to change because now they got, some film on you, and they're going to figure out ways to try to stop you and what your weaknesses are and so forth. But for the most part, for him to come in for his first start, to come in like that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I've said this before, and I don't know if you agree or you disagree. Whenever I coached, and let's say a guy got eligible, basketball is a 2-semester sport. When a guy got eligible that semester, they always played great their first game out. Like, it always seemed a guy came back from injury, he played really well the first game. And I've told fans, I don't know, maybe Will Levis is that good, but I swear to God, Eddie, it always felt like guys played great first night out after coming in the game or first time they're starting or whatever it is.
Yeah, but now that's great. But what happens the next game and then the following week when they got the film on you and then they'll figure out your weaknesses. So it was a good first start. And from what I understand, if Tannehill's healthy, he's going to be the starter. So I think Mike Vrabel's got a good problem on his hands where you have a veteran quarterback where you're trying to figure some things out and the future of the franchise is possibly in the building. So that's a good thing.
Hey, Eddie, couple of things. A lot of talk about, and former players are talking about this, a lot of talk about dissatisfaction with the lack of physicality in the NFL, taking all, hits out, different kind of things. What are your thoughts on what's going on rules-wise with physicality in the NFL?
Oh, definitely the league has gotten softer in terms of the hits that are allowing to be on players. It's a quarterback-driven league. It's really tough to hit the quarterback in the sweet spot. That's between the clavicle bone and above the knees, because it's football. And it's difficult to really preach physicality because you don't know if you're going to get hit for targeting and so forth. But they're trying to make the game safer. They're trying to preserve a lot of the injuries. They're trying to take the head out of the game. And it needs to come to that because there are a lot of players that are suffering from long-term injuries after the game. So it's not nearly as physical as when I played. In fact, a friend of mine, we were watching some stuff in the film room the other day about Ronnie Lott, and we watched his highlights. And every hit that Ronnie Lott made, he would have been out of the game, ejected, fined. He might have been banned from football altogether if he played in today's game. So it's changed, but I think for the long term and the health of the players, it's probably good for the game.
You know what? I grew up watching the '85 Bears. They were my team when I was in college. I grew up outside Chicago.
Yeah, dudes, they were nasty now. Singletary, Wilbert Marshall, and oh my gosh, those boys, they hit you with bad intentions. Richard Dent. Oh, it was awesome watching them play. Yes.
That's right. Bad intentions. That's a great way to put it. They just had bad intentions.
Yes.
Hey, Eddie, when you watch the landscape of college football, I think I know the reasons, but why is Ohio State, I don't know. Like, I got a chance to play basketball at Indiana in the early 80s, and we were, place was crazy. But what is it about Ohio State? It's year after year. Now Ohio State, if you lose a game, it's a bad year. I mean, what is it about Ohio State?
Well, I think it's definitely with the excellence that the school has produced throughout the years. The expectation is to win championships, Big Ten championships. It was like that prior to me even getting there. You know, you go way back to the era of Woody Hayes and the number of Big Ten championships, national championships that they played in, the players that they produced, Heisman Trophy winners, Outland winners, and so forth, and, you know, including myself. So there's the expectation in Columbus that, you know, there's probably one game that's acceptable, but not acceptable for you to lose, and that's beat that team up north. But outside of that, you know, people want to watch, you know, a team that's dominant. Losing 3 games in Columbus is not acceptable. You know, they expect you to be in every single game, and it's unfair. There's a lot of pressure on the head coach and that coaching staff because it's tough to win ball games in college. It really is. No matter if you're recruiting or not, you got to get these kids dialed in. You got to make sure they're doing the right stuff. And it's a difficult position to be in. But, you know, Ohio State, they've been able to recruit extremely well. They've been able to bring in the right leaders, you know, from Urban Meyer, Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer. Now Ryan Day is there, putting his thumbprint on the program. He's doing a great job of doing that. And now, you know, it's going to come down to, it looks like that team up north and in Ohio State for the Big Ten championship coming up here in the next couple of weeks.
Hey, what is it like being in New York, waiting to see whether or not you won the Heisman Trophy? What was it like sitting there, the anticipation? I assume you didn't know until they announced it like everybody else, right?
Yeah, no question. They don't tell you prior to that. I know that. But it was a dream come true, honestly. To sit there in that position, to get in the room is an accomplishment unto itself. So if you were sitting there, whether it was Danny Werfel or Tommy Frazier, Darnell Autry, Troy Davis, we were all sitting there and we deserved to be there. And I felt like, man, this is a childhood dream for me because I've always dreamt of winning the Heisman. And to sit in the downtown athletic club, which was the former home of the Heisman, in that ballroom, oh man, it was awesome. But I remember sitting there just waiting during a TV timeout, which seemed like forever. And before they made the announcement, I just said, hey, if I don't win it, at least I got in the room. And when they called my name, my life changed forever. And now I'm forever known as a Heisman Trophy winner. I have an opportunity to be on the Heisman House commercials and look at the trophy as I go by and in my office and just have my kids share stories about it and have a chance to go back every December to see the former Heisman winners, to induct a new winner to the fraternity. And Heismans are forever. It really is. It's a wonderful fraternity to be a part of.
All right, man, you're on a roll. Tennessee State football. People may not know you're the head coach at Tennessee State. I don't know. I looked this up. Last 2 games, 54, 43. I mean, damn, do you have an Eddie George in the backfield?
Not quite. Still trying to mold them into that. But you know, it's going on my 3rd year. This is our best start since I've been here. I think we really turned the corner in terms of the culture that I wanted to create. My guys have really bought in, and the number one thing is we really, really, truly love one another, and we hold each other accountable, and we try to approach each day with a positive mindset and intentionality to go about our work and to how to treat each other, how to compete with one another, and have a true appreciation to get to do this job. You know, it really is from a staff on down. And that's been the biggest change. It's been a lot of fun, you know, watching this whole thing come together and all the experiences that I've been through in my professional career at Ohio State, even at Fort Union Military Academy. I've kind of put it all together and really trying to create my own culture to inspire these young men to be better men. And as a byproduct of that, we want to be a better team. And now, sitting at 6-2, with 3 games to go. The best start since 2017. Our first winning season since 2017. And now have a chance to win out, possibly play for an OVC championship, and also go in the playoff is really an awesome position to be in this late in the year.
Yeah, what made you want to coach?
Oh, God, man. I didn't want to. You know, back in 2020, when COVID hit, a lot of the world stopped. And I had my wealth management business I was running. I was doing some things on television as an actor and so forth, and that's where my heart was. I was presented with this opportunity by president of Tennessee State, because she was a client of mine with the wealth management deal. So, and I really pushed it to the side. It had nothing to do with coaching, because I see what coaches go through. They get gray hair, they're bald, you know, a lot of stressful nights, a lot of recruiting. So I never really wanted to get into it. But when she presented the opportunity to me, I just thought, man, okay, it just as an exercise, you know, first of all, what does she see in me to want me to be the head coach with no coaching experience? So I went through it and I thought about it. I meditated on it, and I was like, man, God, it would be really cool to coach these kids. And what would I do? How would I implement my system? How would I implement a program? Here's what I would start with. I would start with the mental side, and then I would start with the physical. This is what we're going to do for training in the summer, and as we get into the season. Then I started thinking about off-season programs for financial literacy and self-development. And then my mind just started going, and it went down this rail. I'm like, oh no, Eddie, you don't want to coach. But long story short, it became a calling, and I said, okay, let me jump into it. And I did. And here I am 2.5 years later, sitting here at 6-2. My youngest son is playing for me now. And that's been a blessing. And I love what I'm doing. It's tough. It's a grind. I'm back in the game of football, but it's truly the business side of football and creating a self-development program through the lens of football. So it's been awesome.
Congratulations, man. We're rooting for you. And thanks for coming on the show. It's been fun talking to you. Open those damn restaurants back up. Those places were great.
Oh, let me ask you this. Were you a cheeseburger guy, or did you get the wings?
No. When we would go, my son always got whatever the biggest wings thing that you had. And I would try to get I don't know, I'd fake it, right? I'd be like maybe a chicken sandwich, maybe a club. But I remember my son would always be like, you know, you're hungry after a game, like, Dad, you mind if I get the 100-pack of wings or whatever, you know? No, that place was good. Those places, the one on High Street and then the one out in that station area, Urban would go there, and then people would realize that Urban was there, so there'd be people hanging out by the door, right, waiting on him. But I didn't care. The food was great, Eddie. Thanks for the time, man. I appreciate you. Thanks, Eddie.
All right, my man. God bless you, man. Have a good day.
You too. That's the great Eddie George, man. How about getting to coach your son? You're taking a program and you're winning football games. You're a Heisman Trophy winner, all-time NFL legend, and just a great dude. I've heard Eddie speak a number of times, a number of different places. I think he was on Big Ten Network for a while. Yeah, and I just always liked the guy. And his restaurants were good. I'm telling you, his restaurants were really, really good. Hey, today has brought back a lot of memories. I thank all of you for being on the show. It is really good. We've had monster numbers all day. Hopefully, if you see the show, you like, you subscribe, you comment, and you keep coming back, because we do this every day. Somebody asked, why are you wearing that hideous sweater? This is my Indiana basketball XL. Now I'm about a 3X. I'm a porn star. But it's my XL. I coached in this sweater probably my last 10 years with Bobby Knight as we celebrate the life of the greatest basketball coach in the history of college basketball. Bob Knight passed away. We'll be right back with Nick Mangold, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 7-time All-Pro center, a New York Jets legend. We'll talk to Mangold when we come back.
I'm here at the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, but that's not the only big race that's on people's minds. Let's go talk about it.
There's no way Biden can win again. There's just no way. Even the people that voted for him because they didn't like Trump, Now at least have to see like senile, not all there. Probably won't be alive for 4 more years.
Are you a Trump guy? Or are you a DeSantis guy? Or someone else?
I don't like any of them.
Who's your dream candidate? Who would you want to run?
Myself. I think the best candidates probably are smart enough not to run.
I just hope there's somebody that's young enough to care about the country instead of their politics.
My fear is they get Gavin Newsom from California. I think it would be the new cool vote for the younger people, and that's what I don't like.
Who do you think on the Republican side would be able to take on Gavin Newsom?
Great question. As a Republican registered, I love what Trump's body of work did, but they're just out to get him and destroy him, and we won't get things done, which is crappy for me to say. I thought DeSantis was going to be the guy. Trump only has 4 years left. He cannot fix everything that just happened in 4 years. And he's going to be battling indictments and all these false stuff for the next 4 years. We won't get anything done. And it'll just be the stalemate in America. That's why I almost don't want him in. But if he is the leading candidate, that's who I'm going to vote for.
Is there any Democrat that you would vote for, consider voting for? Absolutely not. Yeah. What about RFK Jr.? No. Who should our first female president be?
Michelle Obama, of course. Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Harambe 2024.
We have the 2024 presidential race coming up. And I wanted to see who you thought your favorite TV characters would vote for. Homer Simpson, like who do you think he would vote for?
Donald Trump, all the way.
Vito Corleone.
Whoa. Whoever advances the cause of the Corleone family.
Ladies and gentlemen, he has been described as an American treasure. Yes, he has. His name, Nick Mangold. The position, 5-time, or I may have screwed this up, 7-time Pro Bowl center, 2-time first-team All-Pro, a New York Jets legend. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Nick Mangold. Nick, that's a hell of an introduction. You've earned it. Now let's talk some Jets. Are we going to see a modern miracle here, a miracle of the unvaxxed? Aaron Rodgers coming back to play off an Achilles that would kill lesser men?
It was shocking to see him out there slinging the ball before the game. But, crazy things have happened with Aaron Rodgers, and this would be up there in the list of the crazy things that have happened.
How hard is it for a team? You were around teams forever. You get all this build-up to the Jets, right? Rodgers is coming in, hard knocks. People are fired up. Expectations are through the roof. And then, first series in, he's gone. Inside the locker room, Nick, how difficult is that on a team?
It's got to be tough. You have this guy coming in, and he's kind of like the savior, and everyone's talking like, we have this great defense. We have all the parts. We just need a quarterback to come in. And you have still the guy that was there before, Zach Wilson. And Aaron comes in, and he takes Zach under his wing. And they have this great offseason. They have the great, preseason, hard knocks. They do all this stuff. And then four plays into the season, Aaron goes down. And so now you're back to Zach Wilson, who you kind of hope had learned a little bit under Aaron. And it's got to be a whirlwind for that long because you have all these high expectations, and now you go back and like, well, we still have expectations, but we're doing it without the prized possession that we had in Aaron Rodgers. So it's got to be difficult, but they're still grinding. Getting the win against the Eagles, win against the Giants. They're making moves. They're still in the hunt. And that's good to see.
How do you think Zach Wilson's doing?
I think he's doing all right. I think he's limiting the negative plays and trying to do the best. Obviously he is not Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think anyone who is around is like, he can overcome for that. But the big thing is that he's getting better. He's made a lot less mistakes. You see the transformation from last year to this year. The team rallying behind him, having his teammates behind him, that's always a good thing. So I think that when you look at those aspects, he is improving, and every week keep improving. Nathaniel Hackett is now learning how Zach performs at his best and trying to do the game plan to work around Zach and how he plays. Because again, like Nathaniel Hackett had to deal. He had Aaron Rodgers, like that was his game plan, and now he's got to transition. So it's been a learning process. They're coming off a 2-win streak here, which is great, and we hope to keep that thing going.
Hey, there's been a lot of talk, and here in Indianapolis, people are really critical and have been for a long time about the turf at Lucas Oil Stadium. Same thing about MetLife. You played there for a long time. Is this conversation worth having? Is MetLife a problem? Are turfs around the NFL a problem?
I don't know if they're a problem. I mean, I know that almost to a man, every guy wants to play on grass. Like when you practice on turf or when you practice on grass, you feel different. Even now in my old age of, coaching my kids, and I have to stand on the sideline of a turf field rather than a grass field. Like the next day, my back kind of hurts a little bit. My knees are a little sore. So turf isn't the greatest thing in the world. I know, I understand it. I get the reason for it, multi-use facility and everything. But I think everyone would want grass. Whether or not it affects injuries, I don't know. I haven't done the research on that and tried to judge, if it causes more injuries or not. But I know as a player and now as an old man coach of kids, I prefer grass rather than turf.
Yeah, that's right. You know what? Correct me if I'm wrong, but your body feels different on Monday playing on grass as opposed to turf, right? You can tell almost immediately.
Oh, almost immediately. And it too. Like the days that you have to practice, if something happens, it rains too much or, there's snow or something, you got to do turf or you got to go into the indoor and you're on turf. Like that day is a little bit worse than the other days. And I feel like now after being out of playing in the NFL for a while and doing it, like I know when I've been standing on a turf field coaching one of my kids' games rather than on a grass field, like it just hurts a little bit more. I attribute that to being old and broken down, but I still think even for a guy that's 23, 24, he's probably feeling the same things.
Centers, this goes back 100 years. Like, I'm going back to Jim Otto. I mean, all these guys, like, centers play forever. They just do, and your fingers are all like this and your brain. But it's like catchers, Carlton Fisk and these guys. How's that possible? You're in the middle of everything. You're getting the hell knocked out of you. But centers and catchers in baseball, they play till they're like 80.
Yeah, we like longevity. I think it's a good thing for us. You take a lot of pride in that position. I was a catcher for baseball as well, up until the point that the kids learned how to throw a curveball, and then I couldn't hit the ball anymore. So that's where my baseball career died out. But it's one of those pride things. You're in the middle. You're in the dirty every day. But you take a lot of pride in it.
Yeah. Hey, Nick, last thing before I let you go, as you watch the NFL, who's the best team? Hey Nick, as you watch the NFL, who's the best team, and how pissed off are you at Michigan for the cheating that they're currently doing?
Yeah, I mean, those scumbags up north are the worst people in the world. It makes sense that they're cheating. It's the only way they can have success. And, you know, in the NFL, you always hate the Patriots. I'm glad to see them brought back down to earth. And they're having a mediocre season. So that's good for all of us that they don't get, you know, to have Brady and all the success that they had. So between Michigan dying and, you know, the Patriots hurting, it makes you feel good as the Ohio State Jets fan.
Hey, how's the business going? How's the barbecue business? Mangold 74 barbecue sauce. How's that rolling?
It's my baby. You know, it's a lot of fun. It's a great hobby. I love getting the sauce out to people. Mangold 74 BBQ. You can find it online. You know, it is one of those great things where I love food, obviously. And I love getting people together, and what better way than doing it with barbecue? And, you know, we also help out with Answer the Call here in New York City for families of fallen first responders. So it's a big thing for me to have that personal cause to help out where we can. And so it's been a lot of fun.
Nick, I appreciate you coming on, man. Hope you'll come back. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
That's the great Nick Mangold. You know him, you love him, you see him. Go get that barbecue sauce. It's called Mangold 74 barbecue sauce. And not only are you going to have a taste treat, as they say, but you're going to help our veterans. And anytime we can help veterans around this joint, you know that's what we are always going to be about. People are asking me, why am I wearing this hideous sweater? Well, it's a sweater I coached it with Bob Knight for, well, probably the last 8 to 10 years I wore this thing. I was there 16 years with Coach Knight. We talked about it at length today, this morning, and we'll continue to talk about it. Bob Knight is not a complicated person. I get a kick out of people telling me Bob Knight's a complicated person. All these little writer boys and people that didn't know him. What's complicated? He wanted you to play hard. He wanted you to win. He wasn't out doing anything. All he ever did was go hunting and coach basketball and read books. It wasn't like this guy was so complex, but I get a kick out of it. I really do. He was not. He was just a great dude in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, he wasn't. But isn't that everybody? I mean, what's so complicated about calling a media guy a dumbass? What's so complicated about not wanting another team to come into your gym and interrupt your practice time when you were in Puerto Rico? Nothing complicated about it, but that's what idiots say that did not know. Bob Knight was a dude that told you how it was. Bob Knight was a dude that was going to coach you every day and coach you hard. Now, sure, Bob Knight made it all about Bob Knight sometimes, but hey, don't we all? You know, somebody said, hey, Dan, you're bitter because he promised you would be his heir apparent and you didn't get the job. Absolutely not. Yes, he did promise me I was going to be the heir apparent, but it wasn't going to happen. He got sideways, and I knew it. And we move on with our life. The only reason I have any dislike for Bob Knight had nothing to do with playing for him, nothing to do with coaching, nothing to do with anything other than what he did or tried to do to me when I was at ESPN and I had a job that he wanted. That's it. No big deal. I mean, we move on. Life goes on. And you know what? What can I tell you? You know, people want to get mad, glad, angry, or sad. Good, do it. Assholes in the media like Greg Doyle want to write articles that talk about the negative. Hey, I got no time for assholes today. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't. Like, I got no time for jackasses today. Most days I got time for you, but not today. Not today. And not when it pertains to Bob Knight. I don't have time for the little sniveling guy on Twitter or the little sniveling writer or whatever. I don't have time for that today. No time. I got no time for that today. But I do, ladies and gentlemen, I do have time for emails. Now, I got to tell you, when we get involved in emails, and you can email me, and it's pretty simple, outkickdaughther@gmail.com. When we get into emails, one of the great things about it is it's starting to take off more and more and more, which means y'all are starting to understand where it's at. Now, we need some voicemails, and we're always into voicemails, but this is from Billy. Billy from Michigan. Hey, Dan, Michigan and Jim Harbaugh should tell the NCAA they don't care about the integrity of the game because they allowed men to compete against women. Ooh, Oh, Billy. I got 2 words for you, Billy. Oh, hell yeah. That is interesting. The NCAA does not care about the integrity of the game, and coaches that haven't spoke on this have no integrity also. Billy, I got to tell you. Billy, you make a good point. I'm not going to lie, Billy. You do. You really do. If the NCAA should not get all high and mighty about Michigan, if in fact you're going to let dudes with penises, not even the ones that went fully committed. Dude puts on a swimsuit and he's got a packy in there. Hey, look, if you're fully committed and you get the junk taken out and all that kind of stuff, then maybe. No, but maybe. Billy, you make a good point. This is from Jeff. Why am I just now, this second, hearing and seeing you for the first time? You, sir, are incredible. Love every take. Man, the idiots must hate you. I now have you on the favorite list. We'll be watching all and everything on Outkick from here till the day I die. And you got the smart as shit Tommy, too. I just regret I'm just finding this out today. All the best. Signed a new faithful follower, white old male Republican from the good old days. Yeah. Why are you just finding us? Hell, I've been on Fox News. This joint has been jumping for a couple years. Why are all of you just finding us? Come on. What are you doing? And thank you. Thank you very much. And yes, we do like white old Republicans from the old days. We like young African-American Democrats from the new days. We like discussion. We like talking about it. We like figuring it out. We like getting after it. And we don't care whether you're white, black, green, or purple, Republican, Democrat, centralist, liberal. I don't care about any of it. Just have a discussion. That's what we like. And we're going to give you a perspective that nobody else can because, well, that's who we are. Cal in Lafayette, hey, Dan, watch the show pretty frequently. I love when you tear into Joltin' Joe Biden. You're always right when you call him a babbling moron. He is a babbling moron. I'd love to be a fly on the wall and hear what he has to say before all the meds start to kick in. How much meds do you think got to be pumped up into Joltin' Joe Biden to just get up there and give a speech? You know, yeah. All right, let's see. I'd like to be a fly on the wall. It probably sounds mushier than the pudding he's spoon-fed by his wife, Jill. You ever think his family or his team ever give him a quick smack on the head to snap him back to reality? It's pretty amazing what that can do for an attitude adjustment. Love the show, brother. See, with your computer, what do? You plug and you unplug. With Biden, maybe it is. Maybe his family ought to just give him a little smack. Look, I don't know. That's probably elderly abuse. It probably is, but hey, it is what it is. So, Jill, don't be afraid to give a little backhand to Joe, will you, please? Come on. This Butch from Princeton, love the show. Why do you give so much time to Greg Doyle? He's a hack writer loaded with BS, pretty awful person to look at in his own right. I made the mistake of reading some of his past work and almost damn near threw the laptop out of the window. Maybe I should stop giving him the time to. Butch, I got no time for Doyle. I don't. And like I said, he's been wrong on every take. He's a god-awful, adulterous human being. And you know what? The article that he wrote, or at least the headline that he wrote, and then he's tried to bury with a bunch of others is just totally typical of the hack. You're right. I probably talked too much about it, but he's such an awful, god-awful human being. There's nothing you can do. Anyway, Coldwater, Michigan chimes in with Gary. The investigation into Michigan is stupid. Good scouting will earn you all the signs and signals you can ask for. Michigan is a good ball club, and I think it's good to have both wins and losses go both ways. At the end of the day, we should be mad at the NCAA and their dumb rules. Well, you can be, but the rules, maybe they're archaic. They were put in place. You can't in-person scout. And this isn't a rule back then in there for any reason other than they wanted to save money. You know, you spend a lot of money getting in your car, meals, all that kind of stuff, to go travel in basketball. You can almost do it every day because there's so many games to go scout. Now teams allegedly are making money hand over fist. I don't know. Look, if it's a rule, don't break it. If it's a rule that you don't like, try to change it. You're Michigan, try to change it. But don't be having some slap guy in a sunglasses with a blue light going off and a hat and a goatee. Don't be having him be on the sidelines, or don't be hiring a guy specifically to do that. If you're going to hire a guy specifically to do that, then fine. But he can't break the rules. If you got a guy that's going to check out every single video that he can get his hands on and try to decipher signals, then good, do that. That's gamesmanship. If you're going to have a guy on the sideline, Eduardo Perez. Everybody tells me Eduardo Perez was the best guy in baseball at stealing third base coaches' signs from the dugout, not from being in the clubhouse. No, from the dugout, steal the damn signs. Hell, I did it coaching 12U baseball, 14U baseball. Who cares? It's part of it. But Michigan, don't hire a guy. Please, be smarter than that. All right, I got a couple top stories that I did not get to. Oh, man. Is Jim Harbaugh going to the Raiders? I mean, I got to ask you this question. Is Jim Harbaugh going to the Raiders? I saw some of the betting lines, and the betting lines are like, yeah, they're the favorite. Raiders have a job open. If I am Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, I'm getting in touch if I think Harbaugh is the guy. Now, you got to understand something. Just because Harbaugh was in San Francisco, did a pretty good job, and he's done a pretty good job in college, doesn't mean that he's for everyone. I got to do my due diligence on him. I got to see what he's like to work with. I got to see. I don't need, if I'm the Raiders, I don't need another chaotic situation. Remember, this is a group that started with who? Mike Mayock as a general manager and John Gruden. Emails from years ago, Washington Post made this chaotic. And then they go get Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels, by all accounts, made this chaotic. How did he make it chaotic? He made it chaotic by not winning, by having whatever the problem was in the locker room. They were enough that 2 days ago, the owner fired him. Now, I don't know what the problems are. Certainly there's problems that the players cause themselves. They don't need chaos. What they need in the Raider world is stability. They don't need, all right? He started his career in 2002 with the Raiders as a quarterback coach. That would allow him to get back. Yeah, he could get back at the 49ers, and he did not leave there on good terms. Remember, the 49ers are here, and Oakland was here, and they always butted heads. Now, of course, Oakland has gone over to L.A., but it's still the same franchise. And, you also got to ask yourself, does the ownership of the Raiders, Mark Davis, even like the guy? I don't have the answer to that. It does what Pete Carroll did. It gets him out of a situation where he would have to face sanctions. In fact, nobody even talks about Pete Carroll anymore and USC and what happened there. All they talk about is Pete Carroll has resurrected Geno Smith. He's won a Super Bowl, and now he's got Geno Smith, and they're 5-2. That's the only thing people talk about Pete Carroll. And this affords Jim Harbaugh the opportunity to do that. Apparently, according to sources, he does have interest in the NFL. He interviewed for the Vikings job a couple years ago. I think it's pretty much been well documented. I tell you this, though, if he does reach the mountaintop, and he does, ladies and gentlemen, get an NCAA or FBS or college football playoff championship, whatever the hell they're calling it now, it's a drop. It's a mic drop moment. Here's a mic. Drop that bad boy. It's a mic drop moment for him. Declare victory and move on. My brother, who is the smartest business guy I know, always said that. And the fact of the matter is, I've never lived by it. I've always overstayed my welcome. But declare victory and move on. Period. Move on, people. Hey, I don't know if you saw this, but Lou Holtz was on Hot Mic. Hey, can we hear Lou Holtz on Hot Mic, fellas? Let's hear from the great man on Hot Mic with Chad and Jonathan.
I find it deplorable about what the rumors are going around. I did coaching a long time ago. When I first started out, I would be a scout. I would go scout the other team. Then they said, no scouting. You can't go. We're going to exchange the video film for it. So there hadn't been any scouting for years. And I'm all for any advantage you can get legally. But to take the film of the opposing sideline, and there's a video on different channels where it will show the Michigan players looking at the Ohio State bench, and then they all turn once they get the signal. So I just think it's deplorable. I think it's bad. I think they should definitely get to the bottom of it before they decide who's going to play for the national championship.
Yeah, and that's kind of my question,
Yeah.
Coach, is, you've been at a school that's independent like Notre Dame. You've been a part of conferences also, and you know the power that conferences can have. This is a case where if something's going to happen to Michigan, if they have a ton of evidence on it, if it's going to happen now, it's probably going to have to come down from the Big Ten office and not the NCAA, because we know how long the NCAA takes to rule on anything. What do you think of the idea of the Big Ten office stepping in, if there's enough evidence, and doing something to Michigan this year that would affect their playoff chances?
I think if they have definite proof. I don't think you can do it on allegation. But if you have definite proof, then I definitely think that something should be done. It's unfair to the other team that are operating by the certain rules.
Coach Lou Holtz with us. How do head coaches stand there and say they don't know about this? They had nothing. They had no knowledge of what Connor Stalions was allegedly doing and apparently on video doing in real time on a Central Michigan sideline.
I figure that's hard to believe. I mean, if you're sending somebody out, he visited, 30-some games, filmed the other sideline, and your team reacts to it. Now, Michigan is good enough. I mean, they're very well coached. I think they're the best team in the country right now. But there's no way that could go on without everybody in the organization knowing it's part of it. I mean, what good does that knowledge do if you don't share it with your team, even though it's illegal?
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, the great Lou Holtz. Paul Feinbaum, he had some words. Feinbaum said this 2 weeks ago. I sat here with you and made the biggest mistake of my professional career. Listen to this. I gave Jim Harbaugh the benefit of the doubt. Never again. Never again. This is a disgusting story with every revelation, which happens every single day of the week. And the fact that the Big Ten has not done anything yet is inexcusable. Oh, by the way, as reported by me I forget. Now Pete Thamel and others, without crediting me, which is typical, are saying Big Ten coaches are now demanding action from the Big Ten office. I told you this last week. I did. I told you this last week, that this was happening, because I talked to Big Ten coaches both in basketball and football, and they're pissed off. So now Thamel stealing my stuff, which is what everybody does, or if you're in Indy, you rip me to get some clout, and next thing you know, you want to get popular. But the truth of the matter is, I knew this, and we talked about this. So now, good for Big Ten coaches, and I said this going way back. This is when you have a serious problem. Look, if this was just an isolated Michigan thing, you'd be like, all right, okay, I don't know. We can handle it, but no. Michigan State threatened not to play. Now think about that if they had done that. Think about had they decided we're not playing. Whoa, right? Whoa. We're not going to play. Screw you guys. But as I've told you for basically a week and a half, I can never remember whether it's been this week, last week. I know it's been for a while. I'd have to look at some notes. Hey, man, Big Ten coaches are pissed off and tired of it. And they're now vocal because they know. I don't care what people say. I don't care what, fans say. Portnoy, anybody else. I don't care what they say. This to coaches is a big deal. Period. I want to make sure we have this right here before we go to, let's go to break. We'll come back. Portnoy had some things to say. We'll get into that when we come back.
Where we're headed is a next television contract for the college football playoff with a boatload of money. And they're trying to cut that off with a cap right now, where we went over it yesterday. 9% of the average Power 5 athletic budget goes to the players for student aid. The others, vast majority of the percentage, 42 to 45%, goes to coaches' salaries, staff, administration, and buyouts for previous coaches. I point all this out because you got the Power 5 decision makers and the big college football decision makers. They are seeing dollar signs today. That's because Netflix is getting into the sports streaming realm. They're finally dipping the toe in the water. And it's not just because they're promoting F1 or promoting certain PGA Tour golfers. It's more than that. They've already admitted that this is their foray into what could be live streaming of sports on Netflix. We've already seen it from Amazon. We've already seen it from Apple. Now Netflix is going to do it with the golf event that will feature PGA Tour members and F1 stars leading up to the Las Vegas Grand Prix. I bring this up because Netflix, Apple, and Amazon, that's where the next bucket load of money is going to come from. ESPN's already ponied up. We've seen the deals with CBS and Fox and NBC for the Big Ten, for the Big 12, and, of course, Notre Dame on their own. ACC is stuck where they are. Realignment has happened. More dollars are coming into this through the streamers.
Well, I'm a little torn on this next one because Dave Portnoy says something that I truly believe. Like right now, I've got a media guy from Northwest Indiana wanting me to be included in a story on Bob Knight. And this jackass has been such a rotten prick to me over the last, 3 or 4 years, that there's no way in hell I'm coming on or helping this guy out. That's just who I am. So I'm with Portnoy on this. Dave Portnoy said, look, I know enough to know I don't believe anything I read in the news. So let me say this loud and clear so everyone can hear it from the horse's mouth. All of Michigan stands firmly with Harbaugh. Good for him. See, people think that I should be mad about that because I've come at Michigan. Absolutely not. I'm with Portnoy on this. I'm with Portnoy on, hey, look, I don't believe nothing I read. Like, I saw our little girl Dana Bimbow, whatever the hell her name is, put an article or put a tweet out that Steve Alford couldn't get through a conversation. Maybe that's true, but there's no way in hell I believe it because she said it. I just don't. You do, I don't. So here's the deal, but I do believe what Portnoy is saying is accurate here. I do believe that Michigan does stand with him. Now, there's going to be, probably, I don't know, what do you think, 10%, maybe 20% of people that in Michigan that do not stand with him? I would assume. But the majority do. And the answer why is very simple. Winning. Michigan wants to win. And to tell you the truth, I don't blame them. But even the most ardent Michigan fan that makes an early excuse, their excuse comes down to, well, everybody's doing it. And I am here to tell you, not everyone is doing it. Not everyone is doing it. Not even close. Hell no. Oh, hell no. But anyway, I ain't mad at Dave Portnoy. Hey, you know what is going to be interesting? People talk about Jim Harbaugh going to the NFL, and I'm down with that. I'm cool with that. But the truth of the matter is, Deion Sanders to the NFL far intrigues me. I'm a big fan of Pete Prisco. Pete Prisco is a good dude. He's a writer. I think he does some radio for different places. CBS, he's a writer. He says this, how about Deion Sanders talking about the NFL? He could be an NFL head coach. It's not that complicated. It's football. It really isn't. Manage men, manage your staff, allow the coaches to coach, be good in game situations. That's the problem for a lot of coaches in this league. You know how critical I am of that, Prisco says. If you can do that and allow your coaches to coach, put a good system in, you can win in this league. There you go. You better have a quarterback. I mean, look, you can go to Atlanta, and who's your quarterback? Tyler Henke, maybe Desmond Ridder? I don't give a damn who you are. I'm not so sure you're going to win. Or you can be in Tampa and you can get Tom Brady. You can win the Super Bowl. You got Baker Mayfield. You may not make the playoffs. I mean, you better have a quarterback. I mean, let's be honest. That's the deal. Put a good system in, do exactly what Pete says. But son of a biscuit maker, I do believe you better have a quarterback. That's just me. That's just me. Hey, I don't know if you saw this. This is kind of fascinating. Jerry Jones' alleged daughter. Jerry Jones has a daughter that is apparently 26 years old. Now, Jerry Jones has been married for 627 years. All right? He's been married a long, long, long time. All right, here's the deal. Jerry Jones' alleged daughter put a defamation suit out against Jerry Jones. The defamation suit was tossed. Now, she claims Jerry Jones gave her a $70,000 car to hide and conceal the fact that Jones was her biological father. They are saying that Jerry Jones paid hush money. They are saying that Jerry Jones, he decided he did not want this public, so this woman filed a suit. This woman's suit was dismissed. Look, we live in a society today. I guess I'll ask you this question. Do you really give a rat's ass whether Jerry Jones has a daughter? 26. Jerry does because he's been married for 100 years. See, stuff like this makes to the internet Jerry Jones interesting. It just does. I'm sorry, it does. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. But you know what? What do we get out of the Colts? Explain it to me, Spanky. What do we get out of the Colts? More BS? More nonsense? From what's his face? Chris Ballard? More God. We didn't get nothing. The only interesting thing with the Colts is if Jimmy Irsay does something that we like or dislike. That's it. So good for Jerry Jones. Good for him getting this thrown out. I don't know. Bad for the girl. I don't know. I honestly don't. And I don't think that I care. Hey, Tom Brady chimed in on Josh Allen. Josh Allen, the stud quarterback who is unafraid. That's right. He is not afraid to go ahead and take on linebackers. He's just not. Tom Brady had this to say about Josh Allen. Thinks you better be smart. Thinks you better, if you're going to maximize your potential and play another 10 to 12 years, you better start getting down. Not that he shouldn't run, Brady says, but when he does run, effing slide. Hit the deck and make sure no one hits you. Because I don't want to ever see him get hurt, and I want to see him out there for another 10 to 12 years. He's a freaking stud. I love that Brady cusses. I do. Brady, there's something deep and nefarious about Brady, isn't there? There's got to be, right? Like, Brady has been divorced twice. Once his doing, once her doing. And who divorces Tom Brady? You know, Brady left his first wife, that actress Monahan, when she was pregnant with their kid Jack, I think. And then he goes over to this woman, Giselle, and she's like, yeah, I've had enough. There's something about Brady. I want to see him play another 10 to 12 years and really see how he can maximize his potential. Yes. Yes. He's right. See, when the Colts had Andrew Luck, Grigson brought in professional baseball players to teach him to slide. They showed him how Nolan Harrison would get down. Worked on throwing the ball away, literally worked on throwing the ball into the stands, running out of bounds, and the guy wouldn't do it. Instincts took over, and people blamed Grigson for getting him hurt, but it was all Andrew Luck, that and being on a snowboard. Look, what happened here with Anthony Richardson? Anthony Richardson didn't complete a game. He only played in 4, and he got the hell knocked out of him. I mean, cray-cray. That's right, cray-cray. I was hanging around my daughter. Whenever my daughter's around, I say cray-cray. I don't know. I kind of like it. Who the hell doesn't like it? All right, what else do we got here today? I'll tell you what we got here today. Got a lot of good stuff. I already mentioned Desmond Ritter's been benched. Let me ask you a question. I'm just going to ask you a simple question. Are the Atlanta Falcons, the Tampa Bay Bucks, and the Carolina Panthers, although the Carolina Panthers might not be in this vein because they got a rookie quarterback that was the number 1 pick in the draft, but are they, ladies and gentlemen, the 3 boringest teams in the NFL? I don't know. Food for thought. All right, this is how ridiculous the world of communication, the world of TV is. I want you to listen to this story. So for years and years and years, female basketball players in college have been playing against adult males, against college kids, frat boys. You know, they've been playing against them because why? Well, men athletes are better. So listen to this. Elle Duncan is one of our favorite punching bags. She's an idiot. She knows nothing about sports. She's just awful, just horrible. She's the clown that broke into games and talk about, don't say gay. She's a liar. She's basically a thief for taking money. She was shocked. She was shocked to learn. Now, this is a woman that has covered the women's Final Four for years for ESPN. She did not know that men, boys, frat guys, men on campus, sometimes basketball players, participate in practice against women. She didn't know this. I'm telling you, man, in the interest of getting diversity and inclusion and equity into ESPN, they got dum-dums. They really do. They got some of the dumbest SOBs you're ever going to see. How do you not know that? How do you not know, as a woman basketball broadcaster, that women in college play against men in practice? To quote my good friend, Tommy Dakich, my brother, oh, chicka my eyes are burning. Speaking of eyes are burning, you know what is interesting? Trevor Bauer hasn't played in Major League Baseball since 2021. I don't understand it. There's got to be something more here. Trevor Bauer has never been convicted of anything. Trevor Bauer apparently had rough sex. We saw the video of the girl he was having sex with. She's full of shit. We've all seen that. We all know that. She can say whatever she wants. He was accused of sexual assault. Now, Trevor Bauer is an easy target because his Twitter, his comments lean right, conservative. That gets you in trouble. That means when something happens to you, then guess what? You're going to be crushed by the media. And that's exactly what Trevor Bauer has. He's been crushed by the media despite, I don't even know why he's not in the league. Somebody tells me he's got 3 more investigations. Really? I haven't seen that. Maybe he does. But the fact of the matter is, dude's never been charged. Ever. And the woman was so discredited by her own video that came out when Bauer had to go to court to get sealed evidence about him. He wasn't even allowed to have this evidence. But Mookie Betts did him a solid. Let me read from the great right fielder, second baseman, center fielder, whatever the hell, bowler, whatever Mookie Betts wants to be. Here it is. My experience with Bauer is not anything remotely close to what everyone else's experience is. I love him, Mookie Betts says. I think he's an awesome guy. The personal things, I've got no control. I have no say. Obviously, nothing ever came of it. He's an awesome pitcher, a great guy, someone who wants to take the mound every 5th day, but at the end of the day, I don't make that decision. That's a decision not as simple as baseball. No, he's right about that. He's 1,397% right. That is a decision that is not about baseball. You know what that decision is? Politics. That's all. The far, far left, crazy-ass left-wing media went off on Trevor Bauer. But when the evidence came out, grand jury, no trial, no charges, no nothing. You know how vulnerable men are now. He's guilty of being stupid. He got in with a jock sniffer who apparently had her sights on not only him but other major leaguers. That's a problem. You got to be smarter than that in today's world. He wasn't, and he's paying a hell of a price. And we all know, don't we? Don't we all know that if Trevor Bauer was a conservative, or excuse me, wasn't a conservative, was a liberal, that this would all go away? Don't we all know that? I think that we do. I think we do. Yeah. Hey, I just got asked to be on Laura Ingraham tonight. That's a big day. That's a really big day. All right, good for me. Anyway, so check me out tonight on Laura Ingraham. Anyway, the world needs Dakich and Ingram. It's the two most handsome and beautiful 60-year-olds in the world, together on one screen. Smartest too. Don't at me, people. That's how we roll. Hey, did you see this? Michael Jordan is being asked to be the best man in his son Marcus's wedding to Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, Larsa. You can't make this stuff up. You can't. I'm sorry. You try, you can't. So, I want the best man at my dad's wedding. What? I was the best man at my dad's wedding, and I was the best man at my brother's wedding. Obviously, we'll keep that tradition going, is my thoughts on it. Talking about wanting his dad, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, to be the best man for his wedding with Larsa Pippen, wife of Scottie Pippen. Now, I got to tell you, TMZ asked me to come on their show today. I haven't gotten back to them. I got to run it through. But this bad boy here is worthy of TMZ. TMZ special. Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, best man at Scottie Pippen's ex-wife's wedding to Michael Jordan's 26 or 28 or 30-year-old son. This is awesome. This is fantastic. This, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the greatest things ever. And if I were Michael Jordan, I'd absolutely do it. Look, Scottie Pippen, never tipping Pippen, is mad at Jordan. Scottie, never tipping Pippen, decided it was okay to rip Michael Jordan. Hey, if I'm Scottie Pippen, I got to say, look, I got to tell you, I think it'd be all right. I think I'll be the best man. I ain't mad about it. Usually in the last 10 minutes, we go into woke-a-dope, but I'm going to change it a little bit today. Today, I'm wearing my Indiana basketball coaching sweater that I would put on every single day, every single practice, on the road, at home, you name it. I wore it, barely cleaned it. Don't know why I kept it. I told Lee last night or this morning, I think I'll put that on. I realized it was an XL. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not an XL. Ladies and gentlemen, I am morphing, trending toward porn star XXX status. Not there yet. It's not a goal. But I'm wearing it today because the man I coached with, the man I played for, Bob Knight, passed away at 83 years old last night. His health had been in decline. He had been apparently in the hospital a month or two ago and fought it, but he passed away peacefully, I'm being told, at his house in Bloomington. Look, I'll say this again. My last however many years, I didn't get along with Coach Knight. I was very public about Coach Knight. My last conversation with Bob Knight was during the first day, Selection Sunday, the NCAA tournament. We were in Building 4 at ESPN. We were in the basement, which had tables set up for all of us and screens to watch games. There was also TV cameras and a little bit of a set. He was waiting. He walked in as I was filling out my bracket with a beautiful, and I mean beautiful, young woman who used to be a cheerleader at like UCLA. Knight comes in, and Knight bombastically says, "Hey, Dakich, are you still sour?" I go, "Coach, man, you're the best." I go, "Is that what you want me to tell you? You're the best. You're the greatest, Coach." I go, and the girl gets up and goes, "Woo, I'm getting out of here." So I go, "Coach, is that how it's going to be? I mean, I'm just sitting here filling out a bracket, but if you want to go that route, hell, let's argue. Let's do whatever you want." He changed, and he goes, he goes, "I think there should be," this true story, "there should be more coaches on the NCAA selection committee. This is a travesty." I go, "Coach," I think there should be less. There should be none. And he looked. I got to tell you, You guys are such petty little guys. You can't even drive a car by yourself. I said, Coach, I coached for you for 16 years. Murray Bartow was a graduate assistant for 2. You don't like me, and I don't like you. If you were on a committee and it came down to my team and Murray Bartow's team, it wouldn't matter what our record was. You would pick Bartow's team, and that's what all you big-time Hall of Fame type coaches do. You all got these vendettas. And he sat there and he listened. And I was waiting for it, right? I didn't give a shit. At this point, I had a better job than him, which was kind of fascinating to me on ESPN. I was doing the biggest game, Tuesday night. Super Tuesday, Big Ten game. It was the most watched in-week game on ESPN. Knight was trying really hard to get the job. He couldn't. They liked me. I was the best to ever do it. Long story short, Coach did this. Well, I think they should anyway. I said, fair enough. Told you what I thought. And he got up and he went over and he sat in a chair getting ready for his hit. That was the last conversation I ever had. I didn't like him in the end. I didn't respect him in the end. But you know what? That's men. That's alpha men. We're not sitting here a bunch of betas. We're not sitting here a bunch of frickin' dudes wearing, I don't know, whatever the hell these clowns wear. No, these are men. These are how men react. Yeah, you don't like each other. Yeah, you can't stand each other. Yeah, you don't like being in the same room with one another, but it doesn't diminish the fact that I love playing for the man. I absolutely loved playing for the man. I loved coaching for the man until my last 2 years. Then he didn't work hard enough at it. Then we were all spinning our wheels, wasting our time, and I would have left. But you know what? I loved coaching for him and being a part of it for the first 10 years. And I respect the living hell out of him as the best basketball mind ever. See, I hate cheats. And cheats come a lot of ways. And every single guy, everyone that you see in the Hall of Fame from the modern era of coaches was a cheat. I mean, just look it up. Gets suspended here. This guy's suspended there. This guy's program goes on probation. This guy's deal goes there. It's just the way it is. Period. It is. You know what I mean? And you know what? Here's the deal. Knight didn't. Knight wouldn't. There was a hell of an article that somehow Krzyzewski got squashed about all the nefarious things that Duke was doing. Moving people from Alaska. Somehow they ended up in Duke with new jobs or at Durham with new jobs. Knight was never doing that. Never. He wasn't doing nothing. In fact, I saw on Twitter a former player of mine, Brandon Parton, I had Coach Knight call him and his coach. The recruiting pitch went like this. Hey, you want to play at Indiana? Oh, Coach, I'd love to play at Indiana. Good. Let me talk to your effing coach. He wasn't going to get involved with money managers, the clowns that are playing money games with Nike or Adidas. He wasn't playing those games. He wasn't doing those things. He wasn't getting involved in agents. He wasn't doing any of the crap that Krzyzewski and Duke did. He wasn't doing any of the crap that Calipari or Roy Williams or any of these guys were doing. He wasn't doing any of it. Not that those guys are bad guys. They understood and they adapted to what college basketball was about, but Knight wasn't doing any of it. That's why I'll tell you, with only one guy ever in the NBA All-Star game, only one, Isaiah Thomas, and he ended up winning more championships than Calipari, won more championships than Dean Smith. I got to tell you, best basketball coach in the history of the game. I will argue this, though. I will argue that Roy Williams may have been better. That's my only problem. Roy Williams was the hardest coach ever to prepare and play against, ever. We beat the living crap out of him one time, and that time was in Assembly Hall when Alan Henderson put on a show. But Roy Williams, in my opinion, was right there with Knight. If somebody were going to say to me, Roy Williams was a better coach than Bob Knight, I might say, you might be right. That's the only guy. That's the only guy in my experience. Your experience, other guys' experiences may be different. But he's the best basketball coach. And for anybody, all these little piece of shit writers and media guys that want to say how complicated this man is, he wasn't complicated. He wasn't complicated at all. He was going to try to win every day. He was going to try to push you every day. He was going to make damn sure you went to class every day. He was going to make damn sure you played and acted in a certain way every day. The only rule that I ever knew of was, hey, look, dummies, you're not going into bars during the season. October 15th, the season starts. Whenever we lose, the season ends. Whenever we win, the season ends. But I don't want to hear about you in the Bluebird. I don't want to hear about you in Jake's or Oscars. I don't want to hear about you at Motley's. I don't want to hear about you anywhere, Nick's. Nuh-uh. You better not be. In fact, when I was out of college and coaching for him, I took a to-go order from Nick's. I was on the way home. I'd stayed after practice to do some stuff. I ordered a Strom on my way home. I stopped in Nick's. Next thing you know, Coach Knight was in one of the booths with Karen, his wife, and I felt guilty. I'm like, huh? Whoa. Hey, Coach, I'm just getting a Strom. Not having 700 beers like normal. Just having a Strom. Just having one. You know what I mean? All right. Today, to this day, when Knight would leave town, I would play golf on Monday, Tuesday, whatever, with a bunch of guys that were bar owners at Cascades, a little muni in Bloomington. And the game started about noon, so I would get into work early, try to get everything done. We didn't really have cell phones. To this day, I can't tell you how many times Marianne, I would tell her, the secretary, look, I'm going to be at Cascades, I'm going to play golf. I can't tell you how many times a cart was coming and, hey, Dan, Coach Knight's on the phone for you. To this day, when I'm playing golf, it can be wherever, Old Oakland, it can be in Florida, it can be at Northwest Indiana, anywhere. It can be anywhere. I see a cart coming. I think, oh, man, Coach Knight looking for me? You know what I mean? Coach Knight, look, wait. Swear to God. Look, he wasn't that complicated. All he wanted to do was win and coach his players. Always said we and us. Check out the tweets of like Woodson or Krzyzewski. Me, I, me. I did this, Bob Knight, I. No, we and us. That's the Indiana way. And I'll end it with the way I started. I hope at some point, as you read all of these tributes from former players, not from assholes like Doyle or any of these guys, I hope maybe, just maybe, you understand how special Indiana basketball was nationally under Bob Knight, and how much those of us as players understood La Cosa Nostra, our thing. You didn't like it? Good. You didn't get asked to play here? Good. We bought into it. We loved it. It was who we are. We knew we were going to have great stories. We knew that we were going to be tougher. We knew that going through this we could handle divorce or being fired or having the guts to change a job. We knew. Absolutely knew. La Cosa Nostra, our thing. That's how I view Bob Knight and Indiana. And God, is there any way that the current frickin' players at Indiana can start understanding that and cut out all the bullshit? Cut out the Cooper Miller Cup headbands for the NCAA tournament and just worry about winning. Cut out the TikTok videos on the plane after you beat Wyoming and you got a game the next day. Be special. Be different. Be Bob Knight's Hoosiers. La Cosa Nostra, baby. See you tomorrow.